Awesome. Welcome, Victor Maevisky, my brother. So good to have
Hey
you in this
man,
conversation, man.
good to be here, Gladius. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, yeah. This is a truly special moment because just this last week you wrapped up your Sovereign Mind Ascension program, and
Yeah.
we've spent the last 3 months of really just me sharing every single piece of, let's call it, magical transformation technology that I've acquired
Yeah.
in
Sounds
my
like a
life's
program.
journey with you. Yeah, it
Yeah.
sounds like it. Mastering the art of deprogramming. So you
Hmm.
could almost call it a deprogram. Dispelling, discreating beliefs, identities that no longer serve has really
Yep.
been the chief focus of our work together. And I'd love to just start by having you introduce yourself and share kind of like what motivated you to create this experience in your reality, and what where were you 4 months ago, let's say,
Yeah. Absolutely.
leading up to
Yeah.
this experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, I'm super grateful to be here. I'm super grateful to be at the end of the 4 month journey because indeed, like the way you see me right now and the way you might have seen me 4 months prior, probably somewhat different personalities will come through, right? So, 4 months ago, which was like the end of 2023, at the time, I'm right now 35 years old, and I've been 35 at the time. It's being so late kind of in my life, I kind of thought that all my life is handled, right? But for some reason, I see that there are some, things I'm discontented with, and I was kind of, finding something that I'm not happy about with myself. So uh, I was talking to a friend of mine, really good common friend of ours, who is like a fiduciary for me. I can like share everything with him, right? So I was sharing with him that, hey man, you know what? I am like I'm kicking ass at work. I am so good with with like setting up my social network right now for the professional like endeavors and stuff like that. But somehow I'm still don't feel like I'm mature enough in certain ways to like to really get into like a to settle my social life, basically my relationship, right, my personal life, to have it handled. um, um, this friend of ours is for the past multiple years we're together, go through different like growth journeys together. There have been some courses where we did those courses together. There have been conferences where we attended together as well. So he is a person who I would trust with his advice. His advice was to come talk to you. He introduced us, and basically after that, he introduced us, uh, telling me that this is a person who like helped me. Those are his words, and I was like, hey, like you know what? I'm just gonna go with what you recommend, man, because I trust you. Um, we scheduled the first conversation after the introduction done by our friend, and in the first conversation, where I was thinking that we're going to be just discussing, hey, like what's maybe the program about, right? Instead of talking about those, maybe logistical things, what you did, you actually asked me about myself first, trying to understand who I am, like what I am, kind of struggling with. And from that moment, we went through a quick, sequence of like questions and answers, things to say, things to repeat. And after 15 minutes in our conversation, you already helped me like realize a thing that I believed in that was holding me back so much in my life. And I was like, like 15 minutes back, I was feeling about that idea in a certain way. 15 minutes, after, I'm not feeling that at all anymore. What's happening, right? So that kind of helped me open my eyes a little bit, and be more open-minded that the change that I'm seeking might be actually something absolutely doable and absolutely like possible right now, right? And it's not going to perhaps take like years of like meditation to get into it, right? Or like some other practices, but this is something that is attainable right now. To make that shift in my mindset, in my like kind of how I feel my emotions, how to make that shift like in the most kind of effective and quick way, but with a lasting result. Yeah, that's like the taste of Sovereign Mind method that I got on our first call, even before we started talking about the program or like, how can I take part in it and stuff like that. So from that moment, I had no doubts of participating or taking like the highest possible tier in the program in order to have this handled, right? That's something that in 35 years, I haven't found an answer myself. I went through so many like different other like growth journeys, as I said, but talking to you in that first 15 minutes, that kind of gave me actually a feeling of a resolve that this thing can be resolved and it can be done, using this very straightforward, like method. So yeah, maybe to call out one thing that we kind of resolved like pretty quickly.
Hmm.
Um, uh, that thing was the belief that I'm emotionally immature, right? That was one of the earliest beliefs that I shared with you. That hey, you know what? I'm 35 years old. I'm very confident in my like professional life. Very confident in like my relationship with like other like people for like any kind of like, business activities. But emotionally, I do feel that I'm having these bursts of anger sometimes that I cannot control. Right? I feel that I have some maybe like the emotional patterns, the way I call them, from my childhood that I keep carrying on. And yeah, I kind of wrap that in an idea that I am emotionally mature. And well, it appeared that that's a belief that I created for myself, and I kind of created, my internal, like worldview with that belief, and that, made it actually be real. And working on that and getting rid of that in, very in a complex approach, going through the memories, going through, some, maybe emotional, residue that I kept in my body, like releasing all of that actually did, made that shift, and that was not a belief anymore. So, like long story short, basically after getting rid of the belief, the other parts of the life, like the way I handled myself, the way I viewed myself, also started getting in place in the way that I wanted them to be, with the idea that, hey, you know what, I'm a 35 years old person that had gone through, a lot of challenges in life, and had gone through, like ups and downs. But at the end of that, the relationship with the people were great, and my personal attitude about certain things were pretty great. So there's no reason really to believe that this is the kind of deficiency that I carry with me, that I have to carry with me. So
And
yeah,
and
getting
on
rid
that
of the
note,
belief,
isn't
got that
isn't
shift.
it just fascinating that the perspective, the belief, it almost acts like a lens through which we misperceive the reality that's directly in front of us. So you have this perception, "Oh, I'm just not mature enough," or other beliefs. Are you open to me sharing just like a couple super common ones that you and I process together that a lot of people would resonate with?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like the story of not feeling good enough, right? And
Hmm.
the story of not feeling good enough, not just in myself, but in also the work that I do in my relationships, that all pervading sense of not good enoughness, when that's finally outside of your body instead of confused and inside of the body, and you actually see it for what it is for the very first time, and you go, wow, that's not actually who I ever was. I choose to disidentify with that.
Hmm.
What
Yeah, absolutely.
what was the impact of that in your life, in your work performance, in your just overall way of being, letting go of some of those self-worth and self-confidence related beliefs?
Yeah, absolutely. This is indeed one of the beliefs that I held with me, without even realizing that I'm not good enough, right? Because logically, I had like the reasons why I think I am, but hey, like emotionally, I wasn't there really. So indeed, we did that work in one of our sessions early on in order to find where that belief is coming from and kind of to, remove the attachments to like my memories and whatnot that belief was holding on to. And actually, like dispelling and discrediting the belief. And dispelling, discrediting is something we're calling here. It works like a magic phrase for me personally, at least, that helps me, like getting rid of, some of the, emotional storages that I don't want to carry on. So after getting rid of I'm not good enough, I started feeling so much like lightness, lightness in those, those moments what I would, think about myself. Hey, like, can I really go ahead and like do this project at work? I gotta sign a new project, right? I haven't done necessarily that thing. Like I haven't worked with that particular tool. And by the way, I'm a software engineer, so I have to like work with like tools and like, integrate things. So long story short, I had something, new to do for work, and that was an exciting thing to do because it would give me like great experience in the world of AI. That was a AI related thing. So at first, I had like this, kind of already kind of like habitual thing to kind of doubt myself. Am I going to be able to do it, right? And then when that thought like came through, like it felt like a foreign thought to me. I was like, what is this? Hold on a second. This doesn't feel right now. Like, what is this? And, there was that, duality between like that thought that would usually pop into my head, like, oh, am I sure I can do it, right? And the internal, like, certainty. There was like an internal, like state of certainty that, hey, this is something I can handle. This is uncharted territory, and this is not the first time I'm going into uncharted territory in my life, and I know I'm going to come the other way with a good result, right? So I really did notice like that particular time in life, hey, like this is such a great thing because like instead of right now, like, being in the kind of anxiety mode, trying to see like how can I not, screw up this new project, sort of like, hey, I can just go ahead and do it. Like, let me see what's the next step here to do it. So I find that like put me in a much more productive, mindset, much more productive, much more easier mindset that is kind of easier to live with, but also more kind of productive at work. That instead of, like spending my mental time of doubting what can go wrong, I just focus on the things that should go in place in order to make it right. And yeah, at the end, like that helped me actually, like like go quickly and do a a very quick, POC and show it to my team. And actually, at the end of it, like in 1 week, I was pretty much done with it instead of like keeping like a month going or something like that. So
Hmm.
yeah, that'll be one of many examples that I can call out.
I love it, man. And it's so interesting how like work performance, life performance changes drastically when we don't have our feet subconsciously on on the brake pedal. It's all this self-doubt, all this mental chatter, this content that's coming up from the subconscious with all the emotions and all the feelings and why am I procrastinating? Why am I eating food? Why am I smoking weed? Why am I doing all of these things I don't understand? It's like, well, there's so much stored emotion trapped inside of your physical, mental, and emotional body, and it's all tied to what you believe. And when you dispel and discreate the belief, that emotional energy is just no longer trapped in the body. And so when you enter into that same familiar circumstance of, I've just been assigned a new project, or my, this girl that I'm attracted to is approaching, when that old reserve of fear or anxiety or whatever would usually get triggered, it like knocks on the door and asks like, hey, it, are we still believing this shit? And you're like, no, we're not. And it's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go away now.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was kind of like a fly that flew by. Oh, there was nothing to attach to. I'm probably going to go further.
That's
So that's the
exactly
same
it.
with you.
That's exactly it. So that brings me to this curiosity. We talked about earlier dispelling and discreating beliefs. And Victor, if I would have told you, hey, all of your beliefs, you're just going to be able to delete them in like 5 seconds if you choose, you might not have believed me if I would have just told you in the very first conversation. And for those watching, that might sound like an extraordinary claim. I wonder if you can share about your direct experience, Victor, about the amount of time and energy it takes to clear a belief getting faster and more efficient as you train yourself in this method, the sovereign mind method.
Yeah, I'm so glad to share about that because, and I'm laughing a little bit inside because early in our in our coaching relationship, essentially I was very skeptical that hey, is that something I would want to get rid of as a belief? I had like some fear attached to it that hey, is everything gonna just crash down or this like thing I'm believing is gonna go away? And indeed, I had that, mindset. Also, I was thinking that, hey, like to like change something like the way you feel about yourself, for example, the way you feel about your appearance, right? That is probably going to take, a lot of time, a lot of effort. Those were like some mindsets I was living with. And instead of that, from the first call, like when I got like the first taste that in 15 minutes, we already like did such a huge change in my mindset like that was like the first glimpse, right? That kind of like started the shift. But then I do remember that we actually did a conversation where I like shared again that hey, you know what, I do have like a doubt that this is might not work forever, right? I think we had a conversation where I said that, hey, something came back, something that we already dispelled. And right now we kind of need to dispel it again, right? So that's like, apparently that was another story that I was creating for myself at that particular moment that wasn't like necessarily true. So you helped me like guide me a little bit, steer me away from believing that story and saying, hey, we did it like that time, like super quick. Would you want to maybe try it again? So basically, we did actually attack exactly the belief that change like takes sacrifice. That's one of the beliefs that we did, spoke on, I think, our first live session together. And that's not something that has to be true. And that's something that we actually did dispel. So after that, that triggered like a pretty big change in my worldview overall. First of all, I stopped believing that sacrifice is absolutely necessary to create a change. That's not something that, is true. And there are many, many, many examples in my life where that didn't have to be true either. So that was helpful. Then the fact that change is going to take, suffering or is going to be painful or take a long time. Like, does that have to be true? Well, I just had like a couple of weeks ago, I had a call when, in 15 minutes, that was a pretty easy process. Maybe I have to call some of the prior emotions, but that's not even like, not even close to what I thought would be necessary to maybe get rid of a like long stored emotion. So yes, we did had a conversation about this, and after that, I started believing that change is going to be something that's super attainable, and it's not going to take that much time. And yeah, after that, I think our calls started being even more productive because we started like focusing much quicker on the stuff that we would want to release and dispel and discreate. And after that, I saw like even a higher, like cadence of and products and of how many results we're getting from from every session.
Exactly, man. I love that. And it's those beliefs about change that are often the very first ones that I tackle in one-on-one work
Mhm.
with people because they just serve as an unnecessary amount of friction, roadblock, illusion.
Hmm.
that
Yeah,
that
yeah.
just
Ultimately, it
gets
is
in
an
the way.
illusion.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, it's
illusion.
something you
It's
can believe or you cannot. Yeah.
right. So so you very quickly progressed in your capacity to let these things go. And I want people to just get a flavor for in 3 short months, you went from not having a tool to really be able to permanently excavate and let go of these beliefs and identity structures to what does your practice now look like when you're just practicing at home? You're noticing things in your experience that you would prefer to change or experience differently. You're identifying and discovering what are the belief systems and parts of me that are responsible and letting those things go very swiftly, very efficiently. What does that look like for you?
Yes, absolutely. So, with the time, I want to say that the process for me personally has changed in a much better way in terms of it being like more kind of intuitive and quick, very fast, right? So, dispelling the first belief, it did take a sequence of questions that you asked me, and the way you asked me, it was very important to maintain the structure there, so that that would like touch on the right things in my mind, in my memories, and my overall, like, self-perception as well. So it did take a process. First, several times as we did it to do a change, to dispel a belief. So as we were progressing with it, he told me that, hey, it actually is going to take much less time and much less kind of, like action to dispel a belief. And ultimately, it's mostly about, having the right intention and having the right, internal connection with your internal, like parts of your mind that you want to work with, you want to make a shift in. So right now, how that process looks for me, overall, I can just, close my eyes, focus on a particular thing, and just intentionally make a shift there. So it can take a few seconds now instead of, like a few, 10 minutes, which is also kind of, really great to have like 10 minutes to make a fairly drastic shift in your life. Right now it can done like in a matter of seconds.
That's
And
exactly right. That's exactly right.
yes,
And I want to just double click and amplify that because in the old paradigm, these things take years and years to shift, and you can't
yeah,
actually really permanently let them go. All you can do is go and have new experiences that kind of combat the old paradigm that lives within yourself, and you kind of slowly, you still have the underlying foundation of I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, but you like mindset shift yourself, and you like, yeah, I kind of know that I'm good enough and worthy and all these things. And it just doesn't get the desired result of actual true freedom. And now,
yeah.
as a beginner, someone can use this method for 10 minutes and strip away that paradigm for good. And if they continue practicing it as you have, it can take seconds. And that's just so fucking magical. And that's exactly what humanity is ready for, I believe.
I believe too. I think that this is something that we should learn, even not in school, but this is just has to be, a common knowledge for everybody. Everybody should know this. This is so important. This is like exercise, but for your mind, right? And for your soul
Mm-hmm.
as well. And
Mm-hmm.
it's so important, to do those, that's something that I'm currently doing daily. So to share more about how I'm approaching right now, I do
Yeah.
have a daily practice actually at going for a walk. And while I'm in the walk, that's what I kind of have more kind of, I'm more kind of awakened and in tune with my body and with my mind as well. So that's what I'm mostly practicing right now. Releasing the beliefs is going for my evening walk. But even that is not necessary. If I need to, let's say, prepare for a meeting at work, I can just sit myself down and like just check myself quickly emotionally where I'm right now, just kind of align myself a bit, and also find if there is some uncertainty about what I'm about to present. Is there any doubts? Do I doubt myself? Do I doubt, the material I prepared to present to the team? And I would quickly go through those and release the uncertainties that, might have accumulated in the process I was working on it. And I would quickly, like clear them up. And on the meeting, I would be like super, fluent, super, like ready to take questions, without like being like defensive. But hey, like with the curiosity, what are you curious about? Maybe like, I can like share more about this part. So yeah, I think that's been a huge, change in terms of like how I'm applying it to my day-to-day, work, to my day-to-day life. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the ritual, although I do have the walk that I'm doing it daily, and that's great because it keeps me, all the time progressing. But this is something you can just use it like that whenever you need it in your life.
It's like having an ace up the sleeve, the magic trick in
Yeah,
the back pocket of, oh, I
yeah,
notice that in real time in this experience, I'm encountering some emotion. There's some
mhm,
fear, there's some sadness, some anger, whatever it is. And we can choose through free will to focus our attention on that energy, discover what belief is underneath it, what belief is actually causing it, and then just dispel it, let it go. And then the next time we encounter that same situation, one of two things happens. Either a slightly different emotion or sensation arises, there's some other paradigm that was tangential to that one. You rinse and repeat the process, you clear it, you let it go, until eventually you reach the inevitable outcome, which is when I encounter this situation, I am not fazed by it. I can show up in my true self presence in any situation, regardless of what's happening, because I'm no longer believing something about the person, about myself, about the situation that's preventing me from perceiving clearly and just being present. So
Hmm.
that's the real magic of it, is by
Yeah.
stripping away these old belief systems, these old identity structures, we return to presence. When we return to presence, we're naturally and effortlessly embodying our true self. And when you're in that true self energy, the presentation that you're giving to your boss, your coworkers is phenomenal. It's on point. When you're in true self energy, the day that you're going on with your new lady friend is phenomenal and on point, because the true self energy is aligned with all the love in the universe. It's not
Hmm.
misperceiving. It's not accidentally creating fear and scarcity and lack and like, oh, woe is me. None of that. Those paradigms don't exist anymore. So I find it amazing to hear this story, man. And if there's someone out there who is imagining like, I wanna make a shift in who I am and how I feel. I want actually to create something meaningful with my life. And I'm not sure. Maybe Sovereign Mind can get me there. I don't know. What are my options? What would you say to someone who's newer on the path and searching for a solution like this?
Oh yeah, totally. And by the way, I did share already with a lot of friends about the Sovereign Mind community, and
Yeah.
that's the thing about it. This is a community, so in order to try it out for yourself, there's multiple ways to apply for it, right? I know that you do have a shared, you can share a free ebook that you're happily sharing with everybody that is interested in. So that's already like the first step where you can just get more detail about the method, how it works. Because you, Gladius, are so transparent, so open about everything that you're doing, right? There is no secret. Everything is, publicly available. And I would definitely recommend for the people who are very interested, who want to get the most, to work with you directly. Because for me, that's something that I actually decided to continue doing, right? We decided to continue actually having some sessions here and there, maybe not as, closely scheduled as I was doing in the Ascension program. But I find it so useful to be talking to you directly because you help a lot to just steer, and the mind in the right direction to to find where the feeling to the emotion or attached to a memory or something like that. So I find working with you like the most effective way to do it. But there are multiple other tiers in your program, as I'm aware, and you can participate in the community. There are free calls on the weekly basis as well that the people can attend as they become part of the community. So I would say that it takes nothing to get into. It just takes to reach out to you or anybody in the Sovereign Mind method community to just get introduced into it, maybe to get a free copy of the ebook, and after that, you can take it from there as much as you're willing. You can be participating in the weekly calls. You can take the live sessions with you, and there are so many other ways to get involved in the community. So I would say that it just takes a little bit of will and curiosity in order to find out more about it. It's not going to cost you to like find out what the method actually, how it's designed and how it's structured. And it's I don't see any barrier of for entry in that regard. Yeah, my personal experience with it has been amazing, and I wish everybody to have the same amount of grace in their life that that life can change so quickly, so drastically in the right direction. So yeah, I would wish for everybody curious about it to at least reach out and get a free copy of the book, and even better attend one of the group meetings. And I think a lot gets explained there. And yeah, just all the questions you might have are going to be responded there.
Bingo. Yeah, it's so easy, and that's my intention. Is I really want this to be an open source technology for humanity. I really want this to get into the hands of as many people as godly possible, because the more people that actually have free will to choose what they believe, the more likely it is that we're going to live in a peaceful society, in a free society, in a self loving society, which
Mhm.
necessarily means other loving society, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
just imagine, people make a really, really big deal to correct issues of climate change and racism and different social geopolitical issues, wars in different foreign lands. And if 1/10 of that energy was reinvested into just letting go of the paradigms of I'm not worthy, I'm not lovable, I'll never be good enough, I'm not
Mhm.
capable,
Yeah.
I can't do anything right. The way to be loved is to always care for other people before myself. All of these paradigms that people hold on to, if those truly weren't in the picture, there'd be a great readjustment in where humanity's love, care, attention, and focus goes into the self, into the community, into the country, into the world. And that's my desire is I want to see a world where the baseline paradigm of every waking human being is self-love and self-acceptance. I want to see the peace that results in the world as a effect of that. So if folks are interested in seeing more of the sovereign mind method and really having the direct experience, I want to encourage you to join us in the sovereign mind community. Come to the sovereign mind experience, come to one of our group calls, introduce yourself into the community, get involved, and volunteer yourself to have an experience with me. I do one-on-one stuff, but I make myself accessible in the group. So that's really it. And Victor, I want to thank you so much for just sharing the love that you are, sharing the light that you are, for choosing to ascend in your own consciousness so that you have this expanded heart, you have this expanded free will to be able to share yourself more brightly with the world. Um,
Thank you, man.
and so
Thank you,
I
man. I
want to,
appreciate it so much, and I want to tell I appreciate you so much for showing this. That this is a possibility and showing me the path to it. It changed my life already, and I know it's going to continue adding more and more like love and great people into my life. So I would urge everybody curious to take a look, and at the Sovereign Mind method because it's not going to like cost you. I don't know, like can use like to invest into it. It's like a tool that you're going to acquire once that you're going to continue using it until the rest of your life, and it's going to continuously like steer your mind in the in the direction where you want it to go.
beautiful man. Thank you. All right. Let's end there.